And so that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And so I think the next thing we were talking about was where are we at in the process. So right now
Yeah.
we're just really just waiting. We're
Hmm.
permit.
Yeah.
Permits take a minute to get everything together, but that's
Sure.
where we are right now.
Mhm.
We're in the
Yeah.
waiting line for getting permits.
Hmm. And so the listeners know, like I've been out there, I've seen
Yeah.
the property. This isn't just something random. This is something that is planned out. And these houses, and correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but these are houses built on slab. It's not like a shanty town. House built on slab with plumbing and doors and windows that are painted nicely, that are spaced out. So it's a community feel with paved roads. They're going to have a garden. They're going to have a mental health center. They're going to have garbage delivery or
Hmm.
garbage service that will just
Yes.
come and pick up at the dumpsters. So this is a very well organized idea, very well organized village. This isn't just something random they're throwing up here. This is something that has been thought out and it's been proven to
Yes.
be effective and serve the community. So kicking
Yeah.
it back to you, Frank, to kind of talk about where you're at in the process. So,
Yeah. Great point. Great point.
mhm.
And it illustrates this when people and I get it, right? So when
Yeah.
people are driving down the streets and they see
Hmm.
a whole bunch of tiny homes that are built for
Yeah.
people, and they think that
Hmm.
I don't want to see that there,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't
Uh-huh.
have the vision of the community first village.
Yeah.
They don't have the village, the vision of what we're
Uh-huh.
actually trying to do. And so, all obviously, I'm encouraging folks
Sure.
to set up tours to go out, just as you did, to
Yeah.
go out and see the property and to hear us
Absolutely.
talk about this.
Hmm.
And so, yes, absolutely, every place was not.
Hmm.
It will be permanently there.
Yeah.
That house will be permanently there. Now, here's the
Hmm.
beauty: the houses that people will live in will be designed by them.
Uh-huh.
So we have models that they can say, I want that house right there,
Right.
and
Right.
that will be their house. But the interior of it will be to their liking.
Hmm.
And I think I might have mentioned the story about down in Austin, Texas,
Hmm.
where someone liked the Cowboys, and so they outfitted the whole house, his whole house, in cowboy gear.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
come on, man. Now
Yeah.
here would be Seahawks, I'm sure, but
Hmm.
it's like, man, can you imagine if you say, man, that's what I want to walk into every day.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm walking into somewhere that I can take ownership of, but I
Sure.
can also just sit and say, man, I feel
Hmm.
comfortable just being
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
where I haven't been home
Hmm.
for a while. Now, here's the thing, also, Pastor said, we are creating a what we would call, and we haven't really landed on a real name yet for this, but a
Hmm.
care team. And the
Yeah.
care team will help folks get acclimated to the
Sure.
community
Yeah.
of actually living in a house.
Hmm.
And I think I may have mentioned the story of the lady down in Texas who slept on her porch for 3 weeks
Yeah.
because she didn't want to sleep
Hmm.
inside.
Yeah. Yep.
But that was okay to do that. And it's
Uh-huh.
like, she has a porch she can
Hmm.
sleep on
Hmm.
because it's going to take time to acclimate to
Sure.
living indoors where you like where you feel that this is my space.
Yeah.
This is my space. It's not like you or I, we go
Hmm.
move from one place to the next. We say, okay, well, we live there, we can live
Hmm.
there. We'll put everything where we want to be and it'll be
Hmm.
comfortable.
Yeah.
We know how to do that, but we're talking about folks who have been chronically homeless, folks who are in the
Yeah.
streets
Hmm.
who don't know how to do that stuff. Pastor, folks who have had their stuff, if you
Yeah.
will, swept by
Sure.
law enforcement or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
every month or so. And
Yeah.
so they have to rebuild and rebuild. So they
Hmm.
don't feel comfortable. They
Hmm.
feel there's a lack of trust in systems.
Hmm.
There's a lack of trust in people.
Hmm.
All of these things would have to
Hmm.
take place. And those are all the things that we have to address along the way.
Hmm.
And we are totally prepared for that. We
Yeah.
have planned for that.
Yeah. And I love what you said. You used the word acclimation because I like to someone like me who's never experienced that. To me, it would be like, well, why wouldn't you just go in and just, start your life right in there? Because it's foreign to me. But if you really consider what a lot of these people have been through, I mean, that it will take some acclimation to kind of going back to living a normal, American life, so to speak. But you made a great point is that you're going to have teams and resources and people available to help them acclimate. They're not just going to be, okay, here you go. There's going to be people that care and love and serve them and help them get on their feet, not just from a housing standpoint, but just from a basic, American human to build back those uh, personal habits in their life. you know. So it's I think that that's one of the things that I want a lot everyone who's listening to understand, that there is that substructure, that emotional support, that spiritual support, that practical support behind all this is what makes the Good Neighbor Village function.
Mhm.
So, and you can add on to that as well. And you might have said this, but you're in the permitting process, and you're going through all that. You know, the sewer. There's a lot of sewers they got to bring in. But to just kind of talk about, just so people understand how the Tacoma Rescue Mission is working with the county and with the city, and how you're working with the different organizations, that this really is in a lot of ways a collaborative effort
Yeah.
to serve people in the community, maybe so people can understand how that's all working together.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it started with the county, right?
Sure.
Trying to
Hmm.
address this issue of
Yeah.
homelessness. And so we try to figure out, well, so what would it take? You know, when we talk about dollars, man, how
Yeah.
much is it going to take for us to try to get something like this
Uh-huh.
off the ground?
Yeah.
Because again, it's not just to build it
Hmm.
and to get it running, it's to sustain it. Like,
Yeah.
how are we going to sustain this? Like, how is
Right.
this going to be a permanent
Right.
solution, not just a temporary
Hmm.
solution? Which is what you see a lot when you see the tiny homes that are popping up everywhere. A great job they're doing, but it's
Yeah.
all temporary.
Yeah.
It's like those things can wheel in and wheel out,
Hmm.
but this will be permanent. And so we have to
Hmm.
think of on along the lines of sustainability.
Hmm.
10 years down the line,
Yeah.
15 years down the line, we'll
Sure.
still be here. And
Hmm.
so I know that Pierce County has allocated $22 million towards the
Hmm.
project.
It's
And so
awesome.
we literally had to go through a county examiner
Hmm.
hearing
Hmm.
to have for land use, and
Yeah.
we were approved for the land use for what we
Hmm.
want to do. And so TRM is committed to raising $18 million of that.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, Cash and in kind, and obviously we got to continue with
Yeah.
donations and partnerships and
Hmm.
all of those things, because we again, to start it, that's going to cost money, but then to
Sure.
sustain it, that's going to cost
Hmm.
money as well. So
Absolutely.
so we're up right now upwards at about $68.5 million to get this
Wow.
thing going. Now that
Hmm.
obviously you need partnerships.
Yeah.
And so you need the community.
Hmm.
You need a whole lot of folks
Hmm.
around you to be able to make this. And that's what we're doing
Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
With Duke Paulson is out, talking to
Hmm.
folks, and our executive team are out talking to
Hmm.
folks and trying to
Yep.
create these partnerships that are going to
Hmm.
be able to sustain this. Now,
Hmm.
good news is the rescue mission has been doing what we do for 112 years.
Hmm.
And so, this is something that we are experts
Hmm.
at helping
Yeah.
folks get from one place to another in life.
Sure. Hmm.
And so we're banking on that, is that we
Hmm.
know how to do this for a
Right.
long period of time.
Yeah. Okay. And so just to be clear, now your role, Frank, is
Mhm,
to church relations. You're building bridges with pastors like me and some of the other pastors in our region and all over the city,
mhm.
so that we're aware of what's going on. So and I'll make sure to leave in the show notes some contact information for you.
Okay.
So if you're listening to this and you're a pastor, a church leader, elder, or something, outreach coordinator, whatever, and this is pricking your heart like it's pricked mine. Frank's a good guy to get a hold with, because he can get you all the information. He can get you plugged in ways that your church can serve. Every church is different. Every church has different resources, but I believe that the church should be one of the biggest supports
Yes.
of this effort. To not only support the spiritual, but Jesus cared about practical needs as well, and it's a great opportunity right here in our community. So that was kind of my little shameless plug there for all you pastors and church leaders. But now, Frank, like, unfortunate, and you ran into some opposition in the community,
Yeah.
and these people are not your enemies. They're community members that maybe they don't fully understand, or
Mhm.
they're a little bit skeptical, or maybe they're even afraid, and for good reason in some respects. Like, let's talk to those people right now, and hopefully, if that's you, that you've listened to the beginning of this interview to really get a grasp. But I like let's set some people's mind at ease, because there's environmental concerns, there's overpopulation and crowding concerns, there's the wildlife concerns. They're worried about trash, and just, like chronically homeless people bringing their trailers and parking them all over on the side of the road, all those different concerns.
Yeah.
What would you say to these people to really just help give them peace, because they live in the community as well, and like we talked a little bit before, the stigma, and the fear that comes with that. Like how do we put these people's mind to ease? How do we give them the information that they need? How can we let them know that we care about them as well?
Yeah. So there's several levels of this thing.
Yeah,
And I'll try to work my way through most of them.
sure.
So one level is connect with me
Yeah,
because as a faith engagement officer, my role, part of my role is creating this neighborhood of knowingness, right? So these
right.
neighborhoods of knowingness. So if
Yeah.
you want me to come into your neighborhood and have a conversation or sit
Hmm.
down and have a conversation with your congregation or with your community, then
Sure.
just let me know.
Yeah.
And then I'll be more than happy to do that
Hmm.
along with other co-workers that I
Yeah.
work with. And then I want to address the issue because this was one of the concerns is people will be parking their cars and their cars will be full of all their stuff and
Uh-huh.
there'll be a trailers on there. But I want to assure everyone that
Hmm.
this is a gated community.
Hmm.
This is like we have security checkpoint at the front gate. We have another security checkpoint
Hmm.
midway through.
Hmm.
We will have 300 up to 300 parking spaces, but those parking spaces will be for staff and volunteers and people
Hmm.
who live there. There will be parking spaces for everyone
Hmm.
who lives on site,
Hmm.
but for one vehicle.
Yeah.
And obviously there will be so there's the rental agreement. So everyone will be paying rent.
Hmm.
So that's ownership.
Yeah.
As far as if I'm paying rent for something, I want to take care of it.
Sure.
And then there will be what we call a good neighbor village agreement.
Uh-huh.
And so if people are outside of that agreement, and
Hmm.
here's the thing, people will be asked to leave if they are not cooperating with
Yeah.
that. Because again, what we're trying to do is build a community.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, there will be a health care plan.
Yeah.
So let's say someone comes in and they, man, I have this chronic illness, and so
Hmm.
now we want to work with you to see how we can mitigate that some kind of
Yeah.
way. But not us telling you how to do it. It's like
Hmm.
what do you need, and let's see how we can work towards getting you help with that.
Yeah.
Because again, we will have that. And drug and alcohol, because here was another thing. Oh man, they're going to use drugs on the
Yeah.
property, and they're going
Yeah.
to do all these other things. Well, here's the thing. It will be low barrier. Yes, it will be low barrier, but you will
Yeah.
not be able to use drugs or
Hmm.
alcohol on premises.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a lot of things saying, well, people are paying rent. How can you stop people to do what they do inside of places they're paying rent for? Well, that's where community comes in.
Yeah.
And I think I may have mentioned this, right? So in my community that I live in, see something happening in my neighborhood that's not nice, I'm going to speak up about that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, hey, there's something happening over
Hmm.
here, and I want to make sure that I'm living in a safe area. I want
Yeah.
to make sure that so it's the same concept in this
Hmm.
village. Again, because remember, we have the care team, folks are going to acclimate folks, and so we're going to be on the lookout for all these
Hmm.
things. But then here's another thing: 27 of the units that we will build will be for missionals, folks who from the
Hmm.
community want to live on site to
Yeah.
help create that
Yeah.
loving, caring,
Hmm.
nurturing community of folks.
Hmm.
So when we talk about, I'm going to shift now from that to environmental.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We know there were some concerns raised about the wetlands and all this
Hmm.
stuff, and there were, but we are trying to assure people that there will be no impact to the
Hmm.
wetlands. We
Yeah.
have created buffers. I think that there
Well, the
was a
county probably wouldn't let you build it, close to
exactly.
those anyway. So
No, and so here's the thing about that.
yeah.
They said here's where we would like to have a buffer. We've extended that buffer
Hmm.
to make sure that we are not
Yeah.
getting close to where they recommend we are.
Yeah.
So we've extended the
Hmm.
distance away from the
Hmm.
wetlands.
Just as a
Um,
just as a, I've been there and seen it, and they did that just as a courtesy to
yes,
the neighbors living around it, just
yeah,
to be, extra nice.
yeah. Yeah, and I know that there was, the talk about trees, right? So, oh
Hmm.
man, they're going to cut all these trees down. No,
Yeah.
so I think that we were asked if we would preserve 30% of the trees.
Yeah.
Well, we're preserving 60 to 70% of the trees.
Right. I
So
know.
we're
Yeah.
trying to go above and beyond what is recommended for us to do
Sure.
to show that we will be and are good neighbors.
Yeah.
We have the best intentions of
Hmm.
preserving the area,
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
not just going in, because again, let's say that because there was developers involved trying to buy this land. Let's
Yeah.
say developers would have come in, they'd have cleared
Oh,
that stuff
they
out.
sure would have, all of it.
They
But
would
all
cleared it
gone.
out,
You bet.
all gone, filled
Hmm.
in the wetlands or whatever it is they have to do,
Yeah.
right? And they
Hmm.
and it would have been worse for
Yep.
the environment and worse for the
Hmm.
community.
Yeah.
And so we have decided not to do any of that. We have
Yeah.
decided to go above and beyond
Hmm.
what it was recommended that we do
Hmm.
to make sure that the environment is stable
Yeah.
and it's thriving
Hmm.
and it's growing.
Yeah.
So I think that there was one on here about shared housing. Yeah, again, each unit will be for individuals.
Yeah. Hmm.
So there'll be individuals living in each unit.
Hmm.
Now we may have, because they do in Austin, Texas, have family units. Now,
Hmm.
family units are not for residents who are living there. They're for,
Yeah.
let's say, a missional family
Hmm.
wants to come in. So down in Texas, they have families who live on property,
Right.
and so those are the only times there will be children there, is if they're
Right.
volunteers or if there are missionals
Hmm.
living there, and
Yeah.
those units will be more than double occupancy or something
Hmm.
like that,
Sure.
but nothing. So there won't be a whole lot of people living with a even married couples. I think we had this conversation before. Even
Yeah.
married couples, right? We want to have them in separate,
Uh-huh.
because here's the thing: how many? And I'll pose this question: how
Hmm.
many healthy relationships
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
people in living on the streets together?
Yeah.
Not very many.
No.
Not many at all,
Hmm.
right? It's like because again, you go into survival mode,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it strains a relationship
Sure
more than it
does.
helps a
Oh, you bet.
relationship.
Yeah.
And then the wildlife concerns. I know that there was some concerns about the western gray squirrel, and there was a
Yeah.
couple of other
Hmm.
like a horned toad or something like that. Man, and
Yeah.
we are
There's a couple of
taking
them.
every care. And
Yeah.
the western gray squirrel has never been seen on this property.
Hmm.
It was seen about a mile and a half away on
Hmm.
JBLM property, but that in itself, I think, was, ooh, I could be
Hmm.
wrong on this date, so forgive me. And you guys have to look this up, but I think it was like in 2017 or something like that,
Mm. Okay.
right? And that was just one.
Hmm.
And so that is not a concern. But let's say that it just happens to, what has come out of the Pierce County Examiner was that is not even a place that they would live,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's not
Hmm.
conducive to their
Hmm.
living space there, and so yeah, so there's no well, we're
Hmm.
trying to make sure that every single thing that we hear about, we are going
Yeah.
to address, and we're
Yeah.
going to make sure that we are
Hmm.
protecting, and we
Yeah.
are making sure that if there is some kind of
Hmm.
a uh, animal that is
Hmm.
living there, we want to make sure that we take care of that.
Sure. Absolutely.
So yeah, and so that's again,
Hmm.
I hope that helps people
Hmm.
to understand that.
Yeah, and kind of before we wrap this up, I want to make sure that we're clear, and then Frank, you can speak into this as well. But number one, I want people to know is that this isn't a model they made up. They've gone to it. They've researched this entire model. They've had to, make some adjustments to fit our community, but this is a model that they've seen be effective in other communities. So they took that model and they brought it here, and they had to, make sure that it fits in their community. But number two, and I think you might have even have said this, Frank, but this is a place that your heart is that people will take up permanent residence, that there isn't people coming in and out all the time, that people are coming and living in this community for long periods of time, 5 years, 10 years, and even, and you can speak into this as well, but there'll be shuttles to get people to work. There'll
Yeah.
be shuttles to get people to the market or the grocery store. I know there will be different things there as well. But I have personally toured it, and before I let Frank close, I would really encourage any neighbor, get a hold of Frank, take a tour, see it with your own eyes. If they were just going to do something, some slipshod community, they'd already done it by now. But they're really looking to create long-term solutions in their communities, in this county, that brings people the service they need, but also, and Frank addressed this, accountability. And how many of you know the more accountability we have, that's good accountability, the more successful we're going to be in our lives, and that goes for every area. But but I would really encourage you, if you're a neighbor, you live out in Spanaway, and you're up in, not to say you're confused about this. Take a tour. See it. It takes an hour, hour and a half. Take a tour, see it with your own eyes. Talk, ask any question you want while you're on the property, face to face with people who care about you. Frank and his team, they care about the neighbors. That's why they're leaving up so many trees. That's why they're, working so hard to make sure that they are being a good neighbor and they get this off on the right foot. So that's what I would encourage you. If you're a Spanaway Tacoma resident, take the tour, talk to the people, get face to face with what this project truly is. So Frank, before we kind of close here, what would your last encouragement to be to people, to churches, how they can get involved, to the citizens, and how this will enhance their community, just really so we can kind of as a community get unified support behind this, and how we can get involved in this process, but longer term down the road, and just kind of your final share your heart finally to around this entire project.
Yes, again, going back to my story, and just knowing that, man, the solution was not
Yeah,
a place to live.
yeah,
The solution was finding love
yeah,
around in a community of folks
yeah,
who said, man, I'm with you. I know you're
yeah,
walking through a difficult part of your life.
yeah,
That's what's needed. And that's
hmm,
what I just implore people to do, because if
yeah,
here's what we have to believe this.
yeah,
As Christians, the
hmm,
church is the answer.
hmm,
The church is the answer to this.
yeah,
We know this because
hmm,
we know it.
yeah,
And if we could just have more people understand that part of
yeah,
it, right, and understand that the community that we're building, Good Neighbor Village,
hmm,
is a permanent solution,
yeah,
full
hmm,
of support. Like you
yeah,
mentioned earlier, we'll have Pierce Transit coming in there.
hmm,
We will have shuttles going
yeah,
for folks who aren't able to walk on the property. We'll have all of these things
yeah,
to make sure that we are helping people
hmm,
feel loved and
yeah,
cared for.
hmm,
And so I just, yeah, and again, please go to the website
yeah, hmm,
endhomelessness.org, and you can read all the
hmm,
statistics about homelessness throughout America and find out
hmm,
way more than what I can
yeah,
discuss here on this
hmm,
show. But just, yeah, and
hmm,
again, coming from where I've been,
hmm,
I believe
yeah,
this is the best solution. This
yeah,
is the only solution that I've seen in Pierce County, and I've been here.
yeah,
And I've been working at the rescue mission. So this is
hmm,
about 16 and a half years now total.
hmm,
I left and went to Youth for Christ, and left Youth for Christ to go back to the rescue mission.
yep,
But this is where my heart is,
hmm,
because this is so important
yeah,
to people around us.
hmm,
We see people on the streets
hmm,
every single day. How can we want that to remain the
hmm,
same? How can we want to say that that's okay
yeah,
if we have, in fact,
yeah. Yeah, it's so good. So, as we kind of close here, is I just want to leave that final encouragement to people. And I know I have listeners that in different parts of the world that maybe they don't, that this seems so far away, but what Frank said mostly is about offering love, offering care, making people feel valued. And if I mean, I know I have an audience Germany and in different parts of Europe. People are struggling in that part of the world too. Yeah, you may not be able to build a big city like this right now, but you can offer care, you can offer love, you can listen to people's story and put value on their life, which is going to do probably more than we realize. So I want to say, Frank, thank you so much for this. All of Frank's contact information is going to be in the show notes. And I would say to all the churches, church leaders, it does seem like an overwhelming project. But I think that the more, and we have our own ministries and things that are going on, but I think the more of us that come together and rally around this, especially in this initial period, and offer support and give information to our church members. We don't know who's sitting in our churches. Sometimes they might have gifting and resources that can be an unbelievable help, and they're looking for a place to use it, and we didn't even know that was sitting there. So I think that it's great to talk about this with our congregation, especially if you're around the Pierce County area or really anywhere in Washington State. So, Frank, thank you so much for
Yeah,
being a part of this. Really, just sharing your life, sharing your testimony, telling us who Jesus is and why this is so close to the heart of the Father, which I think is very important. So, thank you very, very much. I'm just going to close real quick and then I'll wrap up with you. But thank you
thank you,
for
Pastor.
tuning in to the Courageous Truth podcast. God bless you, and I will see you next time. Continue to take a courageous stand for the truth. God bless you.